Welcome. At this time, I'd like to call the July 12th, 2016 regular scheduled meeting of the Davie County Board of Education to order. And if you would, please bow with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that will affect our great county, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. At this time, we will have the pledge, and I think I'm going to have to lead that today. We don't have any scouts. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up on our agenda is to adopt the agenda, and we need to amend the agenda. So I guess we need to ask for a motion, Jill, technically to amend the agenda. So we need a motion to amend the agenda to include under our business items a 6C, which would be a resolution to declare property surplus and disposal. So we have a motion by Mr. Junker. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Owens. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, so now do we need to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, now I'll ask for a motion to adopt the amended agenda. Have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? We have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're going on to approval of the minutes from our last regular scheduled meeting on June the 7th. Do we have a motion? Have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to important dates, and I will call your attention to a few important dates. Let's see, the commissioners' next commissioners meeting will be August the 1st. Our next meeting will be here, still on our summer schedule at 4 o'clock. Early college open house is on August the 4th, and in early college, first day of school is the 8th. And then we have some orientations and open houses on the 24th, 25th. And then school starts back for everyone else on the 29th. And that's really all I have as far as dates. And then we're going to, for a moment, let's talk about our next board meeting dates starting from July. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartness to talk to us about that for just a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In front of you, you have a one-page document that outlines proposed meeting dates. Typically, we meet on the first Tuesday of each month. In July, we moved that because of July the 4th. You'll see the other proposed dates for 2016-17 school year. One I would bring to your attention and ask you your pleasure is the January 3rd, which is the first Tuesday of January. New Year's is on Sunday. New Year's Day is celebrated on Monday, January the 1st. the 2nd, and then the meeting would be on January the 3rd. Would you want to move that meeting, since it's close to the New Year's holiday, to Thursday of that week or to the following Tuesday of the next week?
Would you not, on behalf of your staff, would you not want to move it a week later to?
We would prefer that. I mean, right close to the holiday, that would be better. And I just thought it would be better for the board as well, same as we've done with July the 4th. Won't affect two of you.
Carol and Steve, what do you guys think?
What's the board's pleasure on that?
So we're talking about moving it to Tuesday? Okay, the following Tuesday, second Tuesday.
Yeah, all I would offer is that that is a regular meeting formed by the board, so you will have a substitute.
Definitely.
But if you do it Thursday, then you won't, so it's up to you.
She just made it personal.
It's all there.
I don't mind either one.
Let's, I mean,
Back at work's always busy after all that.
it is.
Right. No, I would
We
not-
really like you, Ms. Wilson.
Yeah, I
but
mean, I'm sure you'd love to have Elizabeth, and I'm sure she'd love to come.
Let's do it on the second Tuesday.
Okay.
That works.
So it'll be January the 10th.
Yep.
All right.
So do we need to take any action here? Do we need to adopt or
No,
vote? Okay,
no, This is
perfect,
your notice and it'll work.
perfect. Okay, at this time, I will hand it off to Dr. Hartness for our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is a very busy summer. Summer is a fun time. It's also a very busy time preparing for the next school year. And August 29th and our early start with the early college is coming upon us very fast. I did want to provide you with a summary of the state budget and what has been approved by the General Assembly. I didn't ask the technology staff in advance, but if you all would pull up the attachment to the superintendent's report on the screen, the audience can follow along. I just want to hit some highlights on the state budget that was adopted by the General Assembly in the short session. The governor has not signed this budget yet, so the governor has to sign it by the end of July. We can't enact any of the salary changes until he does, so I know the finance department is anxious about that and trying to determine how they do payroll this month or doing changes next month and adjustments for everybody. So we'll see what happens with whether or not the governor will sign it in time or not for payroll. So the General Assembly has adopted a state budget. It's contained in House Bill 1030. It includes compensation for teachers and school-based administrators and school personnel. Were we able to get that on the screen? Okay. In essence, it's a 4.7% average raise for teachers and licensed staff. There is no bonus for teachers this year, so you have to back that out when you're factoring in the average raise, and every step has a little bit different raise. The highest percentage increases are for years 5 through 20. There's a 1.5% salary increase for school-based administrators, a step increase for principals and assistant principals, and they will receive a one-time bonus of 0.5%. There's a 1.5% compensation increase and a 0.5% bonus for other permanent full-time state-funded school district employees. There is a pot of money for merit-based bonuses for non-teaching employees. I don't recall in my tenure having a pot of money allocated to local boards for merit-based increases for non-teaching employees. We don't have any guidance on that at this point in time, but the statute says it's going to be determined by local school boards. When you take $17.2 million divided among the ADM of 1.5 million students, it's not a lot of money, so we'll have to see that'll be something we'll discuss when those funds come to us, how we might want to handle merit-based bonuses for non-teaching employees. State retirees received a 1.6% cost of living increase. There was an increase in the amount of textbooks and digital materials, a $10 million non-recurring fund increase that takes that to $71.5 million. Again, if you divide $71.5 million, it's a lot of money, but you divide that among 1.5 million students, and it's about $48 per student. That won't buy a textbook. I know we're in the process of converting a lot of our materials, instructional materials, from print-based text to digital text, but that allocation, while it has significantly increased over the last 3 years, is not nearly adequate compared to what we've had in the past. So it's heading in the right direction, though. There is a $10 million allocation in non-recurring funds to give a bonus to third grade teachers that have the top 25% of third grade teachers in the state and the top 25 of third grade teachers in each school district based on their student growth according to EBOS. It's the growth measure that's in place for third grade, and that will come out sometime later in the fall, and we'll get more direction on that. But that's going to be a nice incentive for third grade teachers. There's some money for accelerating the digital learning plan in the state. There's a small amount of additional non-recurring funds for instructional supplies and materials and equipment. There's an additional $5.8 million in increased funding for special education vouchers. It's $4.3 million in recurring funds for teacher bonuses for teachers who teach AP or IB courses, and their students perform at a level 3, 4, or 5 on those exams. We'll see how that becomes distributed when AP scores come out. There's another bonus payment. There's $600,000 in funds to give $25 or $50 bonuses to teachers in CTE courses where students are receiving industry certifications or credentials. So we'll get some guidance on that as well. So as you can see in just what I've shared so far, there's some very specialized way to recognize staff in this budget that is pretty much different than what we've done in the past from across the board salary increases. If you look at that last bullet on that first page, it goes into the second page. It's a long way of saying there was a cut to the at-risk student supplemental fund. There was a $2 million increase in non-recurring funds, but a $4.8 million cut in recurring funds. There's a small amount of money for a 3-year pilot program that would allow school districts in a pilot to give additional salary or bonuses to teachers who took on additional or advanced teaching roles. We don't know what that pilot will look like or any parameters around that yet. The last two bullets there are some non-recurring funds based on some new requirements in Senate Bill 867 that will require fingerprint background checks for teaching applicants. It's a little interesting. The budget bill also expands the private school voucher program from $34.8 million to $130.4.8 million over the next 10 years. And as I've stated before, those are public dollars that go to private schools with little or no accountability. There's also another trend that I don't think has been talked about a lot, is a continuation of using more lottery funds and supplanting general funds with lottery funds. So this year the legislature is going to use $57.3 million more in state lottery funds to pay salaries of school clerical workers, custodians, and support staff, on top of the $315 million in lottery funds for non-instructional personnel that's already appropriated for the coming year. These are funds that have been from the general fund in the past and have been supplanted with lottery funds. We're still seeing construction funds in the $400,000 to $500,000 range per year, but you see the legislature continuing to dip into the lottery and replacing general funds with lottery funds. So we're becoming more dependent upon the lottery for staffing. I'm not sure that that was what it was intended to be used for in the beginning. So that's a quick summary of the state budget. We'll see if the governor signs this. I have no reason to believe that he won't sign it in the coming days, and we'll be implementing the changes that are outlined in the state budget. Last thing I'll share with you is I shared last month that we are kicking off a brick fundraiser for an area outside of the new high school, and that site went live today. So if you go to the Davie County Schools website and you click on New Davie High, you will see an opportunity to purchase a brick and an inscribed brick to go in front of the new school. And we've set up that, and appreciate the staff setting that up, and it will go to support outdoor furniture in the courtyard and a concession stand restroom facility for baseball and softball. So encourage everyone to go out and take a look at that. Right now, we're busy hiring staff and making sure we have everything in place for the beginning of the school year, and the work continues.
Thank you for the update, Dr. Hartness. At this time, we're moving on to our construction update, and I will ask Mr. Jim Moorfield to come up and talk to us about our progress at the new high school site.
Good afternoon. It's been a while since we've been here together. I was reflecting back and I realized why we'd gotten so much accomplished. It's been 6 weeks. The highlights of those past 6 weeks are the Farmington Road widening is well underway, and that should be complete without any question before school starts, which won't impact the middle school. The football field, I just left there, and they are still grading the playing surface of the football field, and if weather participates, which didn't look like it was going to when I came in, they hope to start seeding on Monday. And I hope that does happen. Seems like we're a little bit late getting that accomplished. The bleachers have arrived, a large portion of the bleachers have arrived for the football stadium, and they're just waiting for everything to be in place before that starts. The supports, concrete supports for those are there, they're in place, and we hope to start putting the ballast under the bleachers in the morning. The windows are in place in segment C, and those rooms are hot without any air conditioning and with the windows in place. No air movement, so it's beginning to get warm in the building. The metal roof is on in segment C. In segment C, I refer to those, and it's the portion of the building that's west, is the furthest away from Farmington Road, the west end of the building, and the metal roof is on there. The media center middle section, we refer to it as segment B. The single ply roof is on, that building is in the dry. And the CTE building block has started there. However, the Masons have made some changes in their schedule, and hopefully next Monday we will restart masonry work in the CTE building. But also, all of the perimeter masonry walls on the main building, everything should be complete by the end of this week. So after that, it is brick veneer and interior brick block partition walls. So that is really a great milestone that we've reached this month. Both gyms have the roof trusses and roofing deck in place, and we hope to start the GC hopes to start having the single ply roof installed very, very soon on those large rooms. I wondered what y'all were looking at. I can't see anything that way. Irrigation is in place. The underground part of the irrigation is in place. I'm going to change pictures on you. The irrigation is in place on all three playing fields. That's the underground, and we're waiting for the final work to be the compost, the sand to be placed, seeding, and then they'll come back and set the heads for those areas. And the picture that you're looking at is terrazzo has been placed on the ground floor of the classroom building, and in the photo that you're looking at, that is a terrazzo grinding machine, and believe it or not, they're using a water hose in our building. But they're grinding the terrazzo and all of the ground floor has been placed and ground, and it looks really good. Their quality has been exceptional on this job so far. We've got a long way to go. And then drywall, which is an indicator that a lot of things are getting ready to be reaching the finishing phases on the interior of the building. The drywall's been installed on all of the metal stud divider walls in the classrooms, and that is an important feature because once that's taped and primed, there's not much left to do besides hang ceiling grid, floor tile, and the finished paint. So the interior of the classroom building is progressing very, very well. And most of the masonry block in the classroom tower has received its block fill, which closes all of the block cells and makes it presentable for final paint. And if you, as Dr. Harkness witnessed, if you stand still too long, those guys will paint you. Are there any questions to what has transpired over the last almost 6 weeks? Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting to hear about all these, at least these finishing pieces of sheetrock and irrigation on sports fields and goal post and all kinds of things. It's exciting. It is exciting. At this time, we're moving on to the consent agenda, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? Have a second by Ms. Horn. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
If I may, I would like to, now that you've approved, recognize one of our new employees, Mr. Sam Brown. Mr. Brown, would you please stand? And while I share a few things, Mr. Sam Brown will be the new assistant principal at Coolamy Elementary School. Comes to us from Stokes County. He has served in the early college since 2009. Mr. Brown earned his English degree from UNC Greensboro and earned his master's degree from Appalachian State. And many of you are familiar with the training and that you go through with the new schools and at early college, and Ms. Stone, of course, our principal at Coolamy. We all felt very good about Mr. Brown and the training and expertise he had, but I will share a quick story with you. His grandparents were custodians, correct, in the schools. His parents, your mom's a TA, your dad is an auto tech teacher in high school, and he said they never had to try to talk me into going into education. I knew for always that I wanted to be in education. So we have felt very good about Mr. Brown, and I want to say thank you for being here tonight, and congratulations and welcome to the team. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Again, I'll echo congratulations. We're glad to have you here in Davie. At this time, we're moving on to our first business item, and I will call on Ms. Noel Grady-Smith to talk to us about our AIG plan.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Board members, we have not as yet received any particular commentary that directs us in any changes or any additions or revisions of our plan, and we're overjoyed with that because we worked so hard on it. But we would submit it to you for your final approval, and then we will, as they say, push the button on the 15th to formally submit it electronically to the state.
Thank you, Noel. So I need a motion to approve the AIG plan for the 2016 through 2019 school years. Motion by Ms. Owens. Do we have a second? Have a second by Ms. Livengood. Do you have any comments, questions?
That was some serious work.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of work went into that. We really appreciate that. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Noel. At this time, we're moving on to our second item on the agenda, and I will call on Mr. Michael Spillman to come talk to us about make an air quality presentation.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before Mr. Spillman and Mr. Moorfield discuss this, I'd like to welcome two of our county commissioners to the meeting, Chairman Terry Reniger and Mr. John Ferguson. The issue we're going to discuss is something that we have shared some concerns with the county about, and the county manager has invited any commissioners who wanted to be here and hear from experts tonight to attend. So we welcome both you gentlemen to our meeting.
Absolutely.
I'm going to step ahead of Mr. Spillman
Okay, sounds good.
and introduce a little bit of background about this agenda item. A little over a year ago, after being at the job site for many, many days, I realized that I was bringing home the odor from the adjacent composting facility. And after giving it some thought, I asked CES, who is the mechanical engineering firm on this project, if there was some type of odor filtration system that we could install in the rooftop ERVs to prevent the odor from entering the building. And they investigated several options, and I met with Dr. Harkness and voiced my opinion that we needed to do something prior to putting soft materials in the building. And soft materials are ceiling tiles, carpet, seating, educational materials, that type of thing that would collect the same odor that my clothing was collecting as I was at the job site last summer. And after several months of research, Mr. Spillman and CES now have what they think is the best option to keep the building air quality odor-free. And I'd like to let Mr. Spillman address the options that they have that they will bring to you. But I started this about a year ago because I was afraid that we would have a $50+ some million facility and it would have an odor. So, Mr. Spillman.
Thank you, Mr. Moorfield, Chairman Fuller, Board, Dr. Harkness, and staff. As Mr. Moorfield said, Mr. Stroop and I, we looked at several options, and we looked at 3 options. The first option was carbon filters, and they're expensive, and you have to change them very regularly. Second option was the plasma air system. And plasma air uses a tube technology, and the lifespan of the tubes are about 3 years. And the replacement cost for those tubes are estimated to $8,000 to $10,000 every 3 years, which that would be an added burden to my maintenance budget. So then our second option, we looked at the global plasma solutions, which uses a needle point technology. And the only maintenance is to clean those needle points once a year with an alcohol cloth. And the price was 8 to 10% less cost up front initially. And the staff has consulted with like I said, consulting engineering services in this process and received several recommendation letters and testimonies from other groups that have used this product. And we've made a site visit to the Nature Science Center in Greensboro last week. And we were pleased with what we witnessed in that area. They had, it was divided up into a couple of locations inside the building. And with housing animals inside the building, you get a very unique odor from caged animals. So, and it was amazing. It made a huge difference. You could walk through from here to that door, and it was pretty amazing to me. So, and so we, so the staff has a solution, for the odor due to the compost facilities next door. And unfortunately, we have 3 schools that are adjacent to some compost facilities, and to install the plasma, the global plasma solutions eyebars on 8 exhaust fans and ventilators for the main classroom building, 6 exhaust recovery unit ventilators for the CTE building. That cost is going to be around it's going to be $85,532. And then we have the same issue at Pine Brook Elementary School. And it has 24 rooftop units there, which we're in the process of replacing 9 of those right now from last year's capital outlay budget. And the cost for that facility is $89,086. And we're in the process, like I said. So, and if you have any technical questions, this is your man right over here to answer those. We've done our research on the products. So, and if you have any questions about, price differences and that sort of thing, I'll be glad to answer those.
I mean,
I don't have anything, question about the technology or the price difference, but what about North Davie? You mentioned 3 schools, and is it, I mean, we're only, what, 2,000 or 3,000 feet from the new high school to North Davie. Is that not is it not a problem there?
It has been outside, that I've been aware of, but we haven't we haven't had a lot of complaints inside the building yet. But we have at Pine Brook. So, and all that's wind driven too. So, with which way the wind's blowing.
To answer your question though, Mr. Ridenhour, I believe we do need to look at North Davie and its proximity to a commercial composting facility and price out what it would cost to do the same technology in that. The most urgent need is Pine Brook Elementary, which we've received significant complaints beginning in March of this year primarily. Some of us heard that at parent advisory. Principals had complaints as well. And we are closing up this new Davie High School. As Jim said, it's getting warm because windows are going in. This fall, the air will become conditioned and soft materials be introduced, and we don't want to take the risk of that investment absorbing the odors that are outside. We can't control what's outside, but we do need to control what's inside.
Michael, excuse me, Paul. I had a question, and it may be answered somewhere in here, but the $85,000 and $89,000 figure, is that will take care of the problem for the lifetime of the building?
Yes. Yeah, or lifetime of the units.
The lifetime of the units?
Yes, yes.
And that is typically how,
Typically 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah, we seem to stretch them about 5 to 7 years, longer than their lifespan. Their lifespan's 15 years on a rooftop unit, but we're fortunate enough to get 20 out of it.
So I think to the point, the lifetime of this unit is kind of going to be driven based on lifetime of the air conditioning unit.
Well, Mr. Waddell can probably answer this question better than I can, but you have to make these bars custom.
For the unit?
For the unit.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's possible that you could interchange the bar with a new unit once you changed it, as long as the coil size was similar.
Same,
to length.
right.
Yes,
Thank you, Michael.
you're welcome.
Mr. Spillman, redo some numbers for me. Is there a total of 9 units on Pine Brook School, or just 9
No,
of them?
9 new units that's
9
getting
are being-
replaced right now. The crane was there this morning.
Will there be any issue to put this device with these 9 new ones, but not put it on the older ones?
No, that price is for all 24 units, but we're installing 9 new ones right now. And so with that, that's where the professional air, they got the contract for installing those units. So they gave us a price of installing the I-bars on those units, plus the rest of the units for Pine Brook.
Last question. Is it, it has nothing to do with there being a roof already on a building or not. It is, this device goes on the unit that is going to be up there.
It treats the airflow
Right,
going
so-
across the coils, the indoor coils that feed the space.
So it's less expensive at the high school because,
At the current Davie High School, we are treating a percentage of the outdoor air of 10%, 12%, whatever that is. Okay, so we're treating only 10% of that air that feeds that space from the outside. Well, with the rooftop units that we have at Pine Brook and North Davie, we have to treat that entire coil because it's not a separate system that just feeds outdoor air. The outdoor air is incorporated into each individual unit. So it is based on coil square footage of treatment. That's the way you have to do that.
So the unit is mounted on the intake of
It is
wherever
mounted
it's
on
bringing,
top of the coil.
wherever it's bringing fresh air in. That's, you're
Yes.
treating the fresh air before it gets into the
Yes.
unit.
And
Okay, okay.
the advantage at Pine Brook and North Davie, if we happen to go that route, is it treats, with those 2 spaces, it will treat indoor and outdoor air.
Okay.
Plus, any type of fungus or anything that would grow on the coil
Okay.
This product treats that also, so it would treat
Okay.
100% of the air total in the buildings at Pine Brook and North Davis.
But I guess we feel comfortable with any issues that we have at Davie High at the new facility, that treating the fresh air, only the fresh air coming in, we feel like we can cover the issue with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that fresh air is, like I said, it's distributed over
Okay.
8 units or whatever, and it feeds every space.
Okay,
It
okay,
has a
I'm with you.
separate ductwork that goes to every room at that building in that space.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that this treats the air that is in the school. Our students will be spending a lot of time outside of the school, football games, practicing, playing, whatever. The air quality as it pertains to this composting thing, which I'm not saying isn't a great thing, is that affected when they're outside? No?
I have no idea. I mean, I would assume, I mean, I don't know, it's not gonna treat the outdoor air, I mean.
I realize this
outside.
isn't going to solve that problem, I guess, so I just was asking about air quality outside as well, because we have heard complaints, issues in the past of, and what I've seen are parents who are in the pickup line at schools outside of the building,
Yes.
and that's, seems to be a lot of their concern, and I realize this isn't going to solve that, I just wanted to know if it can affect in their health in a negative way.
I
You don't know. Okay, thank you.
I know it's hard to ask, so I'm sure it's hard to answer, but, I mean, the expectations of, we need something, I truly believe that something needs to be done, we spend this money. I mean, if you go up there and smell the smell that I've smelt, but I walk inside that building, then, I mean, I am not gonna smell that. I mean, I know that's what we're paying for, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's not gonna just improve things, but it's going to eliminate. I mean, I know that gets into the technical. I mean, is it gonna truly eliminate the odors?
It's designed to eliminate the odors. The systems he's talking about at the new high school, it's called a decoupling system. So all the outside air that goes into that building are coming through those few units. So you only have to treat the outdoor air going in. So if you take the odors out at the source, then the air in the building is going to be okay because you're pressurizing the building, and any doors that open and close, the air is moving out of the building.
Right,
in.
right.
It will treat the entire building through pressurization. But the other school, all the outside air is brought in individually at the rooftop unit, so you have to treat all the units, so it's a more costly option or solution.
When you look at it per square foot of treatment. So,
I understand. I'm just, 2 years down the road, you walk in, or down the road, you walk into the school, it's amazing to me. I guess the technology part of it, just being able to do that in such a big area and everything like that, it's amazing. But just want to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do.
We use this a lot with hospitals and airports, and a lot of times we have helicopter landings, we have 100% outside air tank right near the helipad, and you have to take it out in one pass for all the doctors and patients and nurses. So we definitely do that one pass odor removal. The only caveat that I can think of to try to further elaborate would be if all the doors are propped open in the school, so that we have the draft going through the school, then all bets are off.
But to your point, if you're just normal business, doors opening, doors closing, the air inside is pressurized, so it's gonna push anything, it's gonna keep anything out. It's not gonna infiltrate through the doors. Yeah, I'm with you.
but with that system, I mean, like you said, now there's returns all through that school too. So if, at Chris's point, if the doors are open first thing in the morning, it's going to return that air and exhaust it out of the building and bring in fresh, treated air.
Right,
In just a matter of minutes, I would.
yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Moorfield for bringing it to our attention, because it would be so devastating to open a new facility and have to deal with this later. And I appreciate the fact that you've included everyone in the process, and it seems as though we have to do this for our students, and it's something that we need to do at all 3 schools.
Well, I think it's definitely something that we need to look at. I think Steve's point, as far as North Davie, I think we need to be prepared for that. As far as getting costs associated with that, and I would assume it would be similar to.
I would assume it'd be similar to Pine Brook.
Similar, yeah. So, I mean, what's the, go ahead, Steve.
I think it's important, too, to realize we got 2 separate facilities causing the problems. You know, one facility, or supposedly causing a problem, one that causes it at Pine Brook, and another facility that's doing it at the new high school. So it's not something that's coming from, you know, just one.
Right. Oh, yeah, no.
You know, and I believe, based on my conversation with Dr. Hartness yesterday, I think the Pine Brook situation's much worse than the. Yeah. Because I can say that I've spent a lot of time at the complex over the last 2 years, which is behind North Davie, and I've never smelt it. So, but I've not been to the high school site, so, you know, or down to that farm, so I can't speak to that. But I think it's just important that we, of course, I don't think nobody's from the paper here, but we understand there's 2 separate facilities causing this situation. And,
right.
That's affecting them.
And I'm not sure what that's about. I mean, maybe it's a volume thing or something like that. I'm not sure, but no, there's no question that there's 2 different sites that we're concerned about creating odor. So what, I guess where we are is we have staff recommending that we install these systems at this point on the new high school and on Pine Brook, and talk about North Davie as far as getting a quote and that kind of thing. And I don't know what the board's pleasure is. My concern would be paying for these systems and not really having this in the budget in the new high school project, nor in our capital outlay budget for Pine Brook and possibly North Davie. So I don't know if this is something that we want to, we have a couple commissioners with us today, but we want to have a discussion with them about, let them, have the presentation made to them. If we want to talk to them about it, at the end of the day, we're going to need the funds to pay for it. And I don't know what the board's pleasure is there.
Can you speak to the time frame as far as getting things done, when this needs to happen?
Well, once we have funds available, it's a 6 to 8 week lead time on equipment and installation. Once the funds are appropriated, we make the PO and we order the equipment. For those 2 schools, it's already mapped out and everything's done. It'll take 6 to 8 weeks. It'll take approximately 6 weeks to get the equipment, and then a couple of weeks to get it installed.
But is there any problems with the delay of 30 days?
I would think the only thing that's going to do is it's a bigger deal at Pine Brook, I would think, because you'll have kids coming back inside 30 to 35 days.
So we don't have the money in our lottery funds or capital funds, or maybe extra money in the budget at the new high school to fund this?
Well, we have funds available in capital outlay. There's no, that's not encumbered, but I guess this is in my opinion, it's a unique situation. And, we have, roofs and repair work that we're doing with routine maintenance, I guess, with capital outlay funds. So I'm whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Well, my point to that is that, and I think Michael spoke to it, that it's the timing for Pine Brook is a little more critical than the timing at the high school because of the fact is that, so 30 days from now, we're looking at August.
Right.
And, then we're looking at, school starting in the, the 29th. Can it be done by then? But,
Well, we are expecting, Jim reminded me of the timeframe of bringing on the first ERVs is October for the new high school. So we're going to heat and cool that facility over the winter through the ERVs, which is the outdoor air unit.
Okay, and that's the
So-
units, these units will be installed on?
Yes.
On those ERVs?
In October, yes.
Chad, I want to make sure I hear your concerns as far as speaking with our commissioners. This was not included in our budget
Right.
in building this high school.
Right.
We had no idea this was going to happen to Pine Brook. This
Right.
is as a result of something that has come about
Right.
since we had all these plans in place. So
Right.
we didn't allot for this.
Right.
And you're saying that in light of that, we may want to look at how we pay for this.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't know if it's the board's pleasure, to me, and I certainly don't want to delay the process. I don't want to do
I
that,
think
but,
if it's,
but,
it sounds like it's critical at Pine Brook because we're going to have students going into Pine Brook, August. And so, if that is the problem, then we need to address the problem.
right. Well, I think we've identified it as a problem. How does the board feel about that? Have any other opinions?
We currently have some decided where it's to be used. We have some funds that we could use to start the Pine Brook situation currently. Our only other funding source would be through the county commissioners. That's the only other option available to us.
Right.
Could we think about taking care of this problem with our own money and go to the commissioners so that they understand what we're doing? And if we get into a situation where we need the money that we're now using on these air filtration systems, that if we're in trouble later on, they'll understand why we're in trouble down the road.
I'm sure that we can go ahead and fund the project and then go to them and ask them to, refund it to us or to pay for the system. I'm sure we can do that if that's what we want to do. Is that what we're saying? And if that's the case, we're looking at what the recommendation is to take action on Pine Brook and on the system at Davie High, at the new Davie High as well. And then as far as North Davie, are we going to get a quote to just figure that out, just to see kind of what the cost would be for that?
We sure can.
Okay. All right. So do we have any other, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a moot point. There's no sense, I guess, in bringing the compost facilities to the table to discuss this, considering that's where the issue is arising from. That's what's causing it. So, I guess we can't do that, but I guess I just want to throw it out there. Should we consider it? I don't expect them to write a check, but
Well, I guess.
That's the issue. That's
No,
the
no,
issue.
there's no question about that. I guess what I would say about that is, I don't know. My understanding is that both of those businesses are operating based on inside their permitting, inside their zoning. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know that there's anything. No, no.
But Chad, I hear Wendy's question, and maybe that would be a good reason to quickly meet with our commissioners just to discuss that, because I think if I've read some of this material correctly, there are some actions they could take to make that air quality be improved, that they could also take upon themselves as businesses. Is that correct?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, I guess in their process of doing what they do, maybe they can manipulate or change that process. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know, quite frankly, that if they're operating and they're duly permitted and they're duly zoned, I mean, I don't know that, I mean, do we have the right to ask them to do anything different? You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you. I mean, at this point, we have odor issues at these facilities, and we have at least a solution to solve the problem indoors. And I don't know that we have any right or otherwise to ask them to do anything different. I mean, we can have that discussion with the commissioners if that's what we'd like to do.
The commissioners, or maybe Jill could weigh on this. Do we have any recourse? I mean, is there anything? Or is it when you're going to build a school and then someone else puts in something that creates you to have to spend $83,000 to correct the areas? Where do we stand there? I mean,
I would just say that I'd reiterate what Mr. Fuller just shared, that the two composting facilities are commercial composting facilities. There was one that had question about zoning in a residential zone, but that's been cleared by the county. The other is an industrial site that is zoned properly. So they're operating under the permits that they've been issued by the state of North Carolina. We have shared our concerns about outdoor odors. The county has followed up, and the state is aware of our odor concerns. And there are parameters within their permits that they don't cause a nuisance. I'm not an expert in how that's enforced, what levels of odors are tolerable and not tolerable, what processes they use that can be or cannot be controlled. All I'm aware of is that we do not want the inside of our schools to smell like the inside of a dumpster. And we have a solution now that can control that indoor air quality that we feel like will be a good solution based on what our expert have said. To your point a few minutes ago, Ms. Livengood, we have issues with students outside. I have had complaints with students getting out of the car rider line, getting off the bus, getting sick. You know, I don't think our schools need to be a place where students dread going outside because of the odor. And I would hope that, to be a good neighbor, that those businesses would take that into consideration and that they would control their processes to the extent in which they can control them to prevent being an odor nuisance to not only the schools but their neighbors. So we've taken the necessary steps to report that we have concerns, and I just think we have to step back and say we've done that. We've got to leave that in the hands of the state of North Carolina to enforce, and now we have this solution. So what I would propose, Board, as hearing your discussion, is that we do have a more urgent need at Pine Brook because we have students at that facility right now. We have a need to have some solution in place by October at the new high school before we introduce soft materials. You have an option to use to do a budget amendment to allocate the resources now out of our capital outlay fund balance. This is an unplanned expenditure. We could use those funds to go ahead and authorize the staff to enter into a change order with Professional Air to do Pine Brook. At the same time, we could get a quote on North Davie, and we could take all three of these projects to the commissioners and explain the need for a special request or an allocation. And the commissioners would then have to consider whether or not they want to fund those projects.
I think what Dr. Hartnett said is the way we need to. I think we need to move at Pine Brook because just the fact that you said we already had situations where kids getting out of the car in the car rider line and getting sick. And, you know, we looking at a month and a half, 6 weeks, and we're gonna be starting school. And if it is the situation, then, and, you know, and I don't go into it, but I got issues with what's going on at Pine Brook more than I do at the high school, but I'll talk about that later. But anyway, we need to address the Pine Brook situation, I believe.
And I would share that the types of composting facilities are very similar. The smells are very similar. The composting operation adjacent to Pine Brook is a larger operation. So I think that that's why the odors have been stronger there. And these odors are ones associated when they turn the compost. And depending upon the schedule of when that compost is turned, the odors dissipate after some time, but they are pungent when the turning has taken place near the time you visit. And if you visited one of those sites and they both smell the same, it's not desirable.
I guess what I'd like to do then is make a motion, if I can't repeat exactly what Dr. Hartnett said, but the fact is that we go ahead and move with Pine Brook, do a budget amendment out of our capital outlay, go ahead and fund that project, and make provisions for the high school and look at North Davie, and then at that point in time, we can go into discussion with the county commissioners on, you know, the possibility of some type of reimbursement.
So, okay, so we're talking about moving on Pine Brook. Now, what we're hearing is the high school we've got soft materials coming in, you've got the outdoor unit starting up on October 1. So are you suggesting that we just fund Pine Brook now? Or are you suggesting we go ahead and fund Pine Brook and and Davie High, and then get a quote for North Davie, and then ask for all the money back?
I believe that we can amend the capital outlay budget just to take care of Pine Brook tonight, and we have some time to then negotiate with the commissioners on what we're going to do, or do we?
I would just clarify that, yes, they would be funded in different ways. You could appropriate undesignated fund balance out of the local capital outlay fund to fund Pine Brook. You could or could not, you could wait on this till August. We could authorize a change order to the existing contract for the new Davie High to cover that project. Or we could wait and go to the commissioners and put these three together and ask for that at one time. And it still would go, if the commissioners funded it, or if we took it out of contingency for the high school, it's still going to be a change order to the new high school project, because the commercial contractor that's putting in the heating and air is going to be the one to install it.
Okay, so let's, so Steve, what you're talking about is going ahead, you want to make a motion to go ahead and approve them to enter into a contract for the Pine Brook work. Yes. How about the high school work?
Well, you know, we're going to have to do a change order, so if we got.
We still have to approve that, is what you're, so.
We could approve it next month, or whatever.
Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is, your motion is to go ahead and take action on Pine Brook, and then we will wait to get information back on North Davie and take action on North Davie and the high school next month. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion to do, go ahead. Barbara.
I just want to clarify something. So if we do this, which I will second your motion to do the Pine Brook, while we are waiting during this month, can we have the quote for North Davie ready for us and the change order ready for the high school? Can we have that for the next month's meeting?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. We have a second by Ms. Owens. Do we have any other discussion?
Just want to make sure, too, that in the meantime, we would take this before the next meeting to communicate with the commissioners.
Okay.
So
we would ask that we communicate this information. We obviously have two here, but we communicate this with Mike, and then we can, if we need to make a presentation, whatever we need to do to them. Okay. All right, have any other comments, concerns?
Could you restate the motion?
Yeah. So, so, go ahead. So I believe the motion is, based on what Steve said, is to take action on Pine Brook tonight, and then we will take action on North Davie and on the new high school next month, once we receive a quote on North Davie. And we'll communicate with the commissioners about funding and all. Okay. That makes sense? Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second on the table. Do we have any other discussion? Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, I think the next thing that we need to do, since you've authorized that work to be done, is you need to authorize a budget amendment in the amount of $89,086 to transfer that out of the capital outlay fund balance to this contract. Appropriate that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Drexler to transfer that money from our, okay, and we have a second by Mr. Ridenhour. We have any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Okay, next up, we have our amended item, which is 6C, and it's a resolution to declare property surplus and dispose. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartness to talk about that for a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've shared with the board before that we have a piece of property at the corner of William Street and Depot Street in Moxville that we have discussed. It has been the home of a furniture warehouse for disposed furniture in the school system. The board is aware that we no longer need that piece of property. So I want to read this resolution and then see if the board has any questions about it. So the Board of Education is the owner of approximately 0.56 acres of real property on the corner of William Street and Depot Street in Moxville, North Carolina. The board declares the property surplus and no longer necessary for school purposes. The board finds that the best interest of Davie County Schools will be served by the sale of the real property in accordance to general statutes. In accordance to general statute, the property will be offered to the Davie County Board of Commissioners for an opportunity to purchase according to GS 115C 518. And if the Board of Commissioners does not wish to purchase the property, the Board of Education would authorize the superintendent to dispose of the property through a negotiated offer, advertisement, and upset bid process that's outlined in General Statute 168, Article 12. So that's the process. We've discussed that before. I've discussed that with you individually about disposing of that property, and this resolution would formalize that. So I'd ask the board to consider adopting this resolution.
So we have a recommendation on the table to declare this piece of property at the corner of William Street and Depot as surplus property and dispose of it. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Junker. Do we have any comments, questions? Okay.
Mr. Spillman's in the process of having a couple dumpsters delivered. He's gone. And the excess furniture in that warehouse are being disposed of. It's all surplus. It's all already been declared surplus. It's not worth selling.
Thank you. Have any other comments? Seeing no other, I will call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. At this time, we're moving on to public address to the board, and I will turn it over to Ms. Wilson.
Thank you very much, Chairman Fuller. Because it is summer vacation, your speakers have also taken this time off, and they will surely come back next month.
Well, I hope they do. I do. We like seeing a packed house.
Yes, we do.
At this time, we're moving on to committee and staff reports, and we have one item, and I would ask Ms. Peggy Knuckles to come up and talk to us.
Good evening, board and staff. Appreciate you being here, and most of all, I know you've seen the information in your packet. I just appreciate this county, the commissioners, as well as our foundations, and as well as this board particularly, in helping to provide early childhood education. I realize that your focus for most of the time is K-12, but being able to also focus on pre-K helps us get our kids ready for that kindergarten step and helps hopefully to get them on reading level by 3rd grade. And that's what the importance of this project is. And I'm here tonight to share with you. In your packet, there was some information that explained about the Healthy Davie Initiative project. There are right at 39 agencies that have come together about 2 years ago that was formed by the foundations in this community, and they brought a lot of leaders together to focus on education, poverty, and health. And through those initiatives, they had some breakout sessions, some different leaders pulling together, different community members, parents, as well as business people, and they came up with a question of how can we break the cycle of poverty, and how can we help children become successful in entering kindergarten ready to learn. And so with that, they came to the schools, they came and asked us what information we had that could help with this, and we met with them. We shared some information from our dial screenings, which I shared with you earlier in the year. And we also shared with them of how we could possibly help in that situation. And so I'm pleased to say that through that collaborative effort, we are able to offer 18 more students, as well as their parents, an opportunity to have early childhood education in this county. And the reason I say as well as their parents is because the whole point of this particular initiative is to help educate these parents and take them to a different resource to help them break their cycle of poverty through extensions, through Just Hope, through Cooperative Extension Service, through the community college, of putting resources at their fingertips to help them hopefully succeed to get jobs in the area as well, to give back to the community as well. So we're hoping that through those efforts we can break that cycle, and that's what the Healthy Davie Initiative is all about. The reason that we have chosen our Pine Brook site is that in our 2015 dial screening scores for rising kindergartners, it was in the William R. Davie and Pine Brook district that we had the most children that were showing up not ready for kindergarten. They had some type of at-risk factors. That was a little surprising to us, but when I dove into the information, it was also a well-known fact there are no licensed facilities in William R. Davie or Pine Brook districts. So with that, we were able to work with the community, with this committee and with our community, and offer some space from the school systems, thanks to Brooke Pressler as well for working with us and having an extra classroom. And the county commissioners, the Mebane Foundation, and the Davie Community Foundation pulled together equally to help fund this project. And we are just very thankful for that and hope that we can prove and show that this type of a classroom is going to make a difference. Is there any questions about the project? Great.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. It's always good, again, seeing the community working together and making it a better place to live, and it's always good seeing that. Thank you for your presentation. At this time, we're moving on to our closed session portion of the meeting, and I will ask for a motion to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to the North Carolina General Statutes listed on our agenda, to discuss personnel matters protected by state law, and to discuss student matters made confidential by general statutes and FERPA. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Owens. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Drexler. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. We're now in closed session. Thank you.